So we just finished talking about this distinction between value, subject value or subjective value, and objective value. So let's have a look at a couple examples of how you might see this come up. A potential buyer is aware of the asking price for a particular house listed for sale. Which of the following statements is normally false? So if a buyer is approaching a seller to purchase a property, which one of these items is going to be false? The probable sale price will be equal to or above the floor price. Well, remember, what's the floor price? It's the subjective measure of value that is the lowest that the seller is willing to accept. If it's the lowest they're willing to accept, that means the selling price is most likely going to be equal to that or above it, because otherwise they're not going to sell. That's a true answer. Well, the second response says the probable sale price will be equal to or above the seller's value to owner. Well, value to owner is another way of saying a subjective measure of value, what it's worth to them. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to be equal to or above that value as well. The third response says the ceiling price will be equal to or below the asking price. Remember what the ceiling price is. The ceiling price is the most that the buyer is willing to pay. So, in most cases, the home is listed at a price that is above the ceiling. And then the buyer and the seller come in and normally negotiate somewhere down. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking that, hold on, in our real estate market, most of the time prices go for over what they're listed at. You're right, they do, but that's an anomaly. In real estate in general, someone lists a property and then another party comes in and they normally negotiate a price that's somewhere below it, that's closer to the maximum that the buyer is willing to pay and a little bit less than what the seller listed it for. So this one might be confusing, but keep in mind the general concept of real estate where people list a property and normally the price is something less than what it's listed for. So that's a true statement. The fourth answer says the seller is likely to know the buyer's ceiling price. Again, ceiling price is the maximum that the buyer is willing to pay. It's the value that they hold themselves, that subjective value. Would they tell the seller that, look, the most, absolute most I'm willing to pay is 1.5 million? No, because then they don't have any room to negotiate. So that is an incorrect answer. A buyer is typically not going to tell a seller the most that they're willing to pay for a home. Let's look at another example that again uses the subjective and objective measures of value. This time we're going to talk a little bit about objective measures. Jessica wants to sell her home and asks a reputable appraiser to determine the price that she is likely realize for the property. What definition of value will the appraiser likely use? So remember, an appraiser is going to look at properties objectively, but what is their vantage point? Remember, we have market value, what a home will likely sell for. We have insurable value, what it would cost to replace this property. We have lending value, what security is there for a bank? And we have taxable value. What does the CRA think this is worth for tax purposes? So if Jessica's wanting to sell her home, which vantage point is this appraiser going to take? B, market value, because she's looking for a sale. So two examples using the subjective and objective measures of value that you're likely to see, not in this exact way, but in a similar manner on your real exam.